What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the GridironTalkZone Podcast. We're on episode 15 now, and we have a lot to talk about today because today was the NFL trade deadline. So there were some big deals that went down. Actually, the most deals on trade deadline day in the history of the trade deadline is what I think I read. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff to talk about. Before we get into that, though, it is a big sports day with all the trades. I currently have the college football playoff rankings on my TV right now that are coming out. Graham's pretty hyped up for his Astros to lose to the Phillies later tonight, and we have a podcast. So, anything you want to say before we start the pod, Graham?
Go Stros.
Okay, well, we'll start the pod now. So, starting off, we're just going to go over all the trades. Well, all the big ones, really, but which is pretty much almost every trade because ton of trades. But we'll start with the deal that went down yesterday. So, my Bears traded Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens for a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. Those are both for this year's draft, or for this upcoming draft next year. So, personally, first I thought, okay, we gave up too much for a player who's top five at his position, in my opinion, or got too little, for a player who's top five position. Because you look at a second round pick, that's kind of low value for when you think Roquan Smith just right off the bat and a fifth round pick. But then really thinking about it, linebacker in today's NFL isn't nearly as valuable as it used to be. So if you factor in the value of the position, the situation where he is a free agent coming up at the end of next offseason, so they're hoping he resigns after having him just for half the season. And the leverage, the Baylors kind of didn't have any leverage because it seemed like he was going to walk anyway from the reports. From him requesting a trade before the year. So ultimately, it's obviously surprising when it happens as a Baylors fan, but it wasn't the biggest shocking move of all time. Just wish we would have got that first round pick, but hey, we made a different trade today that I'm a little happy about. So we'll talk about that one in a little bit. But what do you have to say about this trade?
It was pretty good. I actually think both sides will win this trade. The Bears, I think it's gonna help them set up their future because as a Saints fan, second round is always like one of the best rounds, especially you can find those hidden gems. And I think if the Bears can just draft right, a second round pick is actually become valuable. Excuse me. Roquan Smith is not going to get any younger. Like you said, linebackers are easier to be replaced. So overall, I think it's a win-win for both teams. Roquan Smith's going to go help a team that's ready to win now. The Bears are going to be setting up to rebuild for the future.
So we can move on to the next trade. That was a trade that happened yesterday. Lots of trades today, though. We will start off with the Broncos trading Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins. I'm going to have to pull up the compensation on this, but
it was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of details, so I'm going to pull it up. But what did you overall think of Bradley Chubb being traded to the Dolphins?
I was a little confused at first, but then I really thought about like how the Dolphins team is right now. I was like, they're trying to win now, and their D line is a little weak. So adding Bradley Chubb to come off the edge, I was like, man, that actually makes a lot of sense. Young guy, they're going to give him a lot of money. They're just giving him a big contract extension, so he's going to be here to stay for Miami. And I really like that trade. I think Miami gave up a little too much draft capital, but if you're going to get your guy to set the edge for the rest of his career, hopefully inside of your city, you might as well just do it now while he's young.
So Bradley Chubb, the compensation was Miami traded a 2023 first. It's actually San Francisco's first. They traded a 2024 fourth-round pick and running back Chase Edmonds for Bradley Chubb and a 2025 fifth. So basically a first-round pick and a fourth and a solid running back. So overall, I was a little surprised, and although I knew that Bradley Chubb was really in the trade talks and I expected him to get traded, and Miami was a team that I saw come up a little bit, but overall, it feels like a definitely win-now move for Miami, giving up a future first-round pick, and they have so much running back depth. I don't think losing Chase Edmonds hurts the offense too much, but overall, I like the trade, adding an extra pass rusher for your team. You have Ogba now, Jalen Phillips, Christian Wilkins, and you added Bradley Chubb. So these defensive lines should be very dominant. So overall, I like the trade, and if they can win some big playoff games, this could really be a move that looks very good on their part. But it's definitely a win-now move. And speaking of just football in general, looking at the screen, I see that LSU has been ranked at number 10 in the college football playoffs. So that's pretty good ranking. I have them at 11, but not too mad about 10. I like LSU a lot. We'll see them play Bama this Saturday. And we can now move on to the next trade. Chase Claypool from the Steelers to the Bears. We can go over this one quickly. Chase Claypool got traded for a second round pick, just straight up for Chase Claypool, just making sure that's the compensation, because that's what I believe was the compensation. But Chase Claypool was traded for a second round pick. It's the Bears second round pick. So with the way the Bears look, it's likely going to be a top 40 to 45 pick in this next year's draft. So right off the bat, I saw we trade for Chase Claypool. I was happy. Really desperate for a receiver, and personally, I've been very high on Claypool throughout his young career. I think he gets a little bit too much disrespect thrown his way. But then I saw a second round pick. I'm like, okay, I think it's the Ravens second round pick, because I would have been willing to trade, the Ravens second round pick, third round pick. But I feel like our second round pick, that's a little too high of a second round pick. But then I thought about it some more, and I'm like, okay, I like it, because we're trying to see if Justin Fields is the guy to be a quarterback for the future. Probably going to draft a receiver next year anyway in the second round. So why not take Claypool? Because who knows how a draft pick could turn out. But I still think you can have more upside in the draft with that second round pick. But at this point, you need some receivers. Claypool, I think, has proven he can at least somewhat play, and I think he's only growing as a player. And I think Chicago's a good fit for him. So I like the move. What do you have to say about the Claypool trade?
I agree. I think Chase Claypool is going to be fit in quite well. I think Justin Fields needs another one of those tall, lengthy, athletic wide receivers that he can throw to, because Darnell Mooney, yes, he's good, but he's a little bit on the shorter range, and Justin Fields can't be, as reckless with the ball. But since Chase Claypool's a little bit higher in the height, I think that it'll make Justin Fields play a little bit better. And overall, just give him someone else to throw the ball to, because he's kind of lacking the receiving weapons. I actually don't think the Bears are that bad of a team. And I've kind of woke up to that, where they're playing competitive games. Like last week, the score may not have shown it, but they played competitive against the Cowboys. I mean, it was really close. And I have a lot of respect for the Bears. But overall, I think it was a good trade. Good for both teams. A little interesting by the Steelers, though, to give up Chase Claypool this early, but it is what it is.
But we can move on to the next trade as the college football top 6 are being revealed. We can move on to the next trade. TJ Hawkinson was traded, shocker, from the Lions to the Vikings. It's crazy to me. Although, yes, you don't want to pay TJ Hawkinson because he hasn't lived up to his top 10 pick expectations at tight end. But you're still going to have to – I don't think he's going to ask for top money, and you're still going to need a good tight end. And I don't think TJ Hawkinson has done enough where he's going to ask for top-tier money. But looking at it, let's pull up the compensation. The Vikings traded a 2023 second rounder, a 2024 fourth rounder that I think may have potential to become a third, but I'm not sure. You traded they traded for Hawkinson. So the Lions gave up Hawkinson, 2023 fourth rounder, and a conditional fourth rounder. Okay, so that's the one that can become a third. So that was a lot to break down, but basically Vikings give up a second round, fourth round, for Hawkinson, a fourth round, and a third/fourth. It could become a third, but it's a fourth right now. A lot to pack in there, but overall, I think it was a bad trade on the Lions' part. You give up on a young guy too early, in my opinion, and I don't think you get enough value back for the player that he's actually played as, which is a solid tight end. Vikings win now move. NFC's looking weak, and they really have a chance here with this offensive firepower with Cousins, Cook, Jefferson, Thielen. Solid O-line play. Now you add in TJ Hawkinson. You still have KJ Osborne as your wide receiver 3. This definitely is a good move for the Vikings, and I think that this boosts the chances of winning the NFC. Not that I even see that happening, but definitely like the aggression of the Vikings front office.
Yeah, I do too. They talked about becoming a offensive minded team this year, adding a really above average tight end. Also, interestingly enough, a division rival.
Georgia's 3.
They put Georgia at 3.
Georgia. Well, I have Georgia at 3 personally, so I agree with this list, but I didn't think Georgia was going to be 3. I think Tennessee should be 1, Ohio State 2, so I like that, but that ruins the 1 versus 2 matchup now.
So it's going to be 1 versus 3?
Yeah, and the last 1 versus 2 regular season matchup was Ohio State, Alabama. Oh, no, not Ohio State. LSU, Alabama in 2011.
2019.
2019 was 2-3.
No, it wasn't. It was 1-2.
It was 2-3.
Are you sure?
LSU, Alabama.
LSU was definitely number 2, and Alabama was definitely number 1.
No, Alabama was number 3 at that time. Oh, no, that was the AP poll. Okay, never mind. The college football playoff had it as a 2-3, which is what was shown on the screen because it was after the rankings came out. But the AP poll had them 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a 1-3. AP poll would be 1-2. But Ohio State's 2. Tennessee is 1. I like it. Tennessee is the best team in college football. Now back to the TJ Hawkinson trade.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it was a good trade for the Vikings. Lions, I don't really understand it. But, yeah, it seems like they're ready to get rid of Jared Goff. Jared Goff time is over in Detroit.
So back to the trades. We have a few more trades to go through. Chase Edmonds. Not Chase Edmonds. Calvin Ridley is probably the last huge one. Calvin Ridley was traded from the Falcons to the Jaguars. Another one where I have to pull up what was the compensation. But overall, people are saying this was a shocker. I didn't think it was a shocker. Like, Calvin Ridley's name hasn't came up in a while just because he hasn't played this year. Yeah. But you expect him to get traded because it sounded like the Falcons and him weren't interested in each other anymore. But overall, the compensation was Calvin Ridley to the Jags in exchange for a 5th rounder and what can become a 2nd rounder at maximum. So overall, just say it's the maximum value, a 2nd and a 5th for Calvin Ridley. I actually don't think that's bad value. It's the same value as Roquan Smith. And yes, wide receiver is more valuable than linebacker, but looking at it, Roquan Smith is top 5 at his position. Calvin Ridley hasn't played in over 2 years, or like a full season in 2 years. And that was just one amazing season. But outside of that, he's just been a solid receiver. So you're banking on the upside, which I don't think is a bad thing to do because the Jaguars really need that star receiver. But so we can see Christian Cook has been good, but Calvin Ridley could make that receiving core pretty good. But overall, I think it's a good move on the Jags' part. Falcons, I think you got good value. So I think it's a win-win trade, that rare win-win trade. What do you have to say?
I think it's a win-win. I think the Jaguars are starting to play this game where they're like, they think they're competitive this year, but they know they're going to be competitive next year. And it'll be interesting to see how Calvin Ridley plays next year.
So let's name the other trade. So Dolphins traded Chase Edmonds to the Broncos. Solid move for the Broncos. Helps them at running back depth. I don't think it was a very good fit in Miami for Edmonds. Commandos traded William Jackson to the Steelers. That I think will be a good fit for the Steelers. Another one of those things where this wasn't a good fit in Washington the last 2 years for William Jackson. Then another few trades. You have some running back trades. Jeff Wilson from the Niners to the Dolphins. So he goes from Shanahan to Mike McDaniel, who used to be on the Niners staff. Then you have Nyheim Hines. This was an interesting one. Colts to Bills. Bills get a pass-catching running back. I saw the value. I think it was Zach Moss in a 5th or a 6th, if I believe, which that is a fleece for the Bills because Nyheim Hines, not that he's amazing, much better player than Zach Moss so far. And really you only get a 5th or a 6th on top of that for trading Hines for Moss. So I don't know what the Colts are really thinking there. But anyway, on to a few more trades. Just have 3 other trades to quickly talk about. Jets traded Jacob Martin, defensive lineman, to the Broncos. Chiefs traded solid cornerback Rashad Fenton to the Falcons. And the Falcons traded a safety, Dean Marlowe, to the Bills. So those are all the trades. So it was a wild trade deadline. Lots of good players traded. But now we can move on to Week 8 NFL recap. Now we're going backwards to Week 8. So we're going to go through these games fairly quickly. Ravens Buccaneers Thursday Night Football. Buccaneers really controlled the first half. We're up, I believe, 10 points or so at halftime. Ravens offense looked fairly stale, in the words of Graham, in the first half. And then the second half, it was a completely different story. Ravens found their rhythm, lit it up, and were able to beat the Bucs. So Bucs are 3-5, very concerning for me, but I think they played better last week than they did the previous weeks versus the Steelers and the Panthers. So that's good to see. Bucs have a big game versus the Rams this week. But on to the next game, unless you have anything to add.
I'm very worried about Tom Brady. I don't know if he's fully mentally in the game right now. And that could be why the Buccaneers are struggling, but I am very worried.
We can move on to the next one. Bears, Cowboys. 20-point blowout. Cowboys beat the Bears by 20. Cowboys were just the better team from the start to the finish. There was a moment where it looked like the Bears got in a rhythm and almost came back in the game, but then the big play happened where the Bears fumbled. Parsons ran it back. That was the game-changing moment to kind of seal it for the Cowboys there on out. Really like what I'm seeing from both teams' offenses, really. Bears a little bit more impressive than I thought they would be, especially the last 2 weeks, going back to the Monday Night Patriots game. Cowboys looking like they're getting in rhythm with Dak. Like to see their defense improve from where it did last week, but overall sample size for the season, their defense has been elite, and the Cowboys look very good on paper and on the field. So, any takeaways from that one?
It pains me to say it, but the Cowboys are legit.
On to the next one, Broncos-Jaguars London game. To be honest, I didn't watch much of this game, but from what I saw of the game, it looked like the Jags just had a few crucial game-changing plays that turnover in the goal towards the goal line, and overall, the Jaguars are a team that has played pretty good football all year, just can't finish games or can't execute situationally, much like another team that played your team. But anyway, Broncos get a big win. Neither team is super impressive to this point, but we can move on. Panthers, Falcons, overtime thriller. Did you see this game? Because this game was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It was the most back and forth game of the year.
Yeah, it was. It was actually really good.
Panthers were going for first place in the NFC South. I was kind of rooting for them just because it would have been a funny storyline. Trading 1-5. Rule was already gone. Traded McCaffrey already, and that would have been crazy if they were first in the division. But PJ Walker, what a performance! What a late fourth quarter throw to DJ Moore.
65-yard bomb.
Like it was 70 in the air too.
70 in the air, like crazy throw. Like,
and the Panthers. What?
I wonder if that's going to be like a hot take in a couple of weeks. If PJ Walker should be the Panthers' future quarterback.
We'll see how PJ Walker continues to play. Tough to go off 2 games because he is just coming in. Got to factor in the game plans for the other teams. But anyway, DJ Moore then took off his helmet as he was getting out of the back of the end zone, which cost him yardage on the extra point. They missed a long extra point then. Then in overtime, they missed a 33-yard field goal too. The Panthers did after getting a big turnover off Mariota. And the Falcons went down and Q hit the game-winning field goal. Just penalty you don't like to have, and some kicking problems for the Panthers cost them this one. But the Falcons are moving to, I believe, 4-4, which is a surprising thing to say, considering I only had them winning, I think, 3, maybe 4 games before the year. It's either 3 or 4 I had them winning. But Falcons first in that division, see if they can keep it up. I expect the Bucs to still win that division, but we'll see how it plays out. On to Dolphins, Lions. This was a shootout for the first 3 quarters, really. Scoring slowed up in the fourth quarter, considering neither team scored in the fourth quarter, and the Lions scored all the points in just the first half. But overall, both teams showing off their offenses. Dolphins just played very good defense in the second half, and the Lions didn't. That was the difference. But anything you want to add to that game?
Not really, to be honest with you. You kind of said everything I wanted to say.
Okay, we can move on to the next one. Cardinals, Vikings. This is a game I picked the Cardinals to win, but the Vikings won it. The Vikings moved to 6-1, looking very good so far. This offense, 34 points last week. Now you add TJ Hawkinson. This offense is looking scary good, just like the defense to pick it up because they definitely have the talent on that defense. But moving on to the next one, Raiders, Saints. So, Graham, you watch more of this game than me, I assume. How did the Raiders get shut out, and why are the Saints now the Super Bowl favorite?
Saints defense finally woke up. We're starting to get a little bit more healthier. The team's starting to come together. Andy Dalton's actually pretty good at quarterback, and we're not having crab leg Winston out there throwing absolute dimes to the other team. Just the team flowed really, really well. We kind of stuffed Derek Carr up, only 111 yards passing for Derek Carr. Struggled. 3 touchdowns by Alvin Kamara. Just overall really good game.
Like to see the Raiders not get shut out. That was definitely disappointing, but don't think the Raiders season is over yet, but it's looking like it might be. On to the next one, Patriots-Jets. Patriots won this game 22-17. It came down to really Zach Wilson turnovers really cost the Jets. didn't play good at all. Some people are already calling for Flacco. As someone who was a Joe Flacco defender early in the year, I don't know if I'd go back to Flacco yet, considering you're a 5-3 football team still. And Wilson has had a few pretty good moments recently, but not the best showing from him. So we can move on to the next one. Steelers, Eagles, blowout 35-13. Steelers are one of the worst teams in football. Like Graham said before the year, Eagles are very good. We know this. Move on to the next one. Titans, Texans. Malik Willis, first career start. Not the best performance from him, but Derrick Henry, man. 100 or not even 100, 219 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 6.8 yards per carry. Total as a team, they had 314 rushing yards. That is absolutely absurd. I'm surprised they didn't score more than 17 points. And the Texans' offense with Davis Mills doesn't look good at all. They only put up 10. Texans, I think, are probably the worst team in football right now, though, in Carolina. And it's looking like the Texans are going to be picking very high in the draft and taking a quarterback next year. Meanwhile, the Titans, looking like Derrick Henry is still the same old Derrick Henry, Hall of Fame player, one of the best backs we've ever seen. And overall, this Titans team when they get Tannehill back in the lineup, can be a dangerous regular season team. It's just, can they get over that playoff hump? We'll see. But moving on, Commandos, Colts. Taylor Heineke versus the new Colts starting quarterback, Sam Ehlinger. We haven't had a podcast since Matt Ryan got benched. Matt Ryan was benched. My Super Bowl take for the Colts sucked. That's all we can leave it at. On to the next one. But anyway, actually talking about the game, the Colts, it felt like it was a low-scoring game the whole game. It felt like it could go either way. Then towards the fourth quarter, it's like, okay, it feels like the Colts have this one. Then ultimately, the Colts didn't play well in the fourth quarter, really, and the Commanders were able to get the ball back, make a big play from Heineke to McLaurin, then punch it in for a touchdown and win the game versus the Colts. So we can move on to the next one. 49ers, Rams. 49ers 31, Rams 14. This was competitive early on in the first half. Then the Niners just absolutely dominated the Rams in the second half. McCaffrey throwing touchdown, rushing touchdown, receiving touchdown. Looks like that addition is a home run like we expect. Yeah. This Niners team's looking really scary. Anything you would add to this game?
Man, Christian McCaffrey, he's legit. Like, it's crazy. Finally on a good team, good coaching staff, and he already looks like he's causing such a big impact to the team.
On to the next one. Giants, Seahawks, 27-13. This game was pretty close. Tight game, first 3 quarters, not too much scoring. Then the fourth quarter, the Seahawks were able to put together 2 touchdown drives and win the game. And the Giants, disappointing performance, but you're on the road. In a tough environment versus a pretty solid team in Seattle. But the Giants fall to 6-2. Seahawks improved to 5-3. Still almost as good of starts as you could hope for if you're fans of those teams, But on to the next game, Packers-Bills, Sunday Night Football. Bills won this game by 10 points, about what everyone expected. I will say Allen did have 2 interceptions. As a whole, as the offense, you would like not to turn the ball over, but still won the game by 10 points. Rushing game was solid. Stephon Diggs, amazing performance. And overall, the Packers are not looking good. They have a game versus who do they play this week? The Lions. So we're going to predict that game later. That's hopefully a get on backtrack game or not. You'll see our predictions. But anyway, Monday Night Football. This game sucked. Bengals, Browns. It was like 0-0 for the first quarter and change. Then the Browns just got going and never looked back. Bengals didn't score till the fourth quarter. And this game was an absolute blowout. 32-13. Nick Chubb, probably the best running back in football right now. Bengals offense without Chase couldn't get too much going. But overall, just not a very good football game. So that's the Week 8 recap. But I want to see something real quick. I'm pulling up something.
Okay. But yeah, overall, Week 8, pretty fun. It was kind of interesting. It's funny to look at all the different divisions and see like how the NFC North is like completely flipped up with the Packers not being good and then the Vikings being good. And of course the NFC South, wow. literally, I thought about 2 weeks ago that the Saints season is over, but now I feel the most confident yet this season to win the division.
Okay, we're gonna throw in quick 5-minute college
yeah.
football talk. So the full rankings are out. I'll just go through them quickly. 25 UCF, 24 Texas, 23 Oregon State, 22 NC State, 21 Wake Forest, 20 Syracuse. Those are all 2 or 3 lost teams. Nothing too surprising. 19 Tulane, 18 Oklahoma State, 17 UNC, 16 Illinois, 15 Penn State. Again, not too surprising, although I don't think Tulane is a top 20 team. Neither do I think UNC or North Carolina Illinois is, but that's a hot take because Illinois has looked good, but they haven't played the best competition. 14 Utah, 13 KSU, Kansas State University, 12 UCLA, 11 Ole Miss. I like those rankings. 10 LSU. I would have UCLA over LSU, but that's the only thing I change. Other than that, I like it so far. 9 USC, 8 Oregon, 7 TCU, 6 Alabama, 5 Michigan, 4 Clemson, 3 Georgia, 2 Ohio State, 1 Tennessee. Only problem with the top 6 is I think you should move Clemson, Michigan down 1 spot and put Alabama at 4. I just don't get this talk that Alabama isn't a contender or they're not like a national championship threat. They're frauds. That has been a little bit of the talk, but I don't see it. I think Alabama's still going to make the college football playoffs, win the SEC title game, and be a championship contender. Clemson, you could say they had a hiccup versus Syracuse. They almost lost. But other than that, they have some impressive wins. Michigan State, not so much. Not very impressive wins. I don't think Clemson or Michigan State is a better team than Alabama. But if you're looking at the records, you could say, oh, well, Alabama has 1 loss. The other teams don't. But if you're just going off records, then why is TCU below Alabama? Whenever they have all those ranked wins and they're undefeated at 8-0. So I think there's some flaws to these rankings, but overall not too bad. I just have Alabama up 2 spots. But anything you want to add on those rankings?
I do like LSU in the top 10. That's good to see.
That's something I didn't expect to see before the year. And if they won that Florida State game, I think they would have been above USC and been 9. But I don't think the Florida State game factors them too much. If they beat Bama this weekend, they're looking like they're on the road to the SEC championship, and you can just dump out that Florida State game first week, extra point missed. But I don't think they're going to beat Bama. So, but anyway.
If they somehow beat Bama, it'll be interesting to see if a 2-loss LSU team somehow finds a way to the college football playoff.
If LSU wins out and they beat Tennessee or Georgia in the title game along with beating Bama Saturday, they're making the college football playoffs as the first 2-loss team to make it in the last 9 years or however long they've been doing it. But I don't think any of that's going to happen. But anyway, let's quickly look at some of the top games. I just want to talk about the Tennessee-Georgia game. It was a 1-2 game by the AP poll, but now it's a 1-3 game with Tennessee being 1, Georgia 3. Georgia is still favored by 8.5. I'm taking Tennessee in the spread versus Georgia all day, and I'm taking Tennessee to win this game. I just think Hendon Hooker in this offense has looked absolutely unstoppable. And then factoring in last week, you beat a Kentucky team who was a ranked number 19 team last week, 44-6. Best defensive performance of the year for Tennessee, which has been kind of what people have criticized. Their defense isn't elite. But I just really like this Tennessee team. I think they should be the national championship favorites right now. Beat Bama, and now I think you're going to get a big road win versus Georgia. But it is in Athens, so that's tough environment to play for Tennessee. But overall, I just really like Tennessee in this game. I'm feeling them riding with the hot hand. They're both hot. They're both 8-0. But anyway, what do you have to say about that game?
I think Tennessee will win. I believe in Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker's talent is just going to carry that team. They're going to take them a long way. But it'll be interesting.
And I want to quickly just talk about 2 more games. Alabama, LSU. So Alabama's favored by 13.5 in LSU in Baton Rouge. I'm taking LSU to cover the spread. I just think Bama's a too talented team, though, for LSU to beat. So I'm going to take Bama to win this game by 6 to 7 points or so. But overall, what do you have to say about this game? Your quarterback, what's his name? Jaden Daniels is his name, right?
Yeah, he's legit.
He's been playing legit. We'll see. He's in his 4th year, I think. So we'll see if he
3rd year. He did a Joe Burrow.
Okay, so we'll see if he comes back next year for his senior year and could be a fairly good Heisman pick. But overall, Again, Alabama's just too talented for me to see LSU beating them, but LSU has been playing some good football. But when you look at the powerhouse team they played, Tennessee, they got blown out, so that doesn't help the case for beating Bama in this game. But we'll see. What do you have to say about this game?
Kind of just said it for me.
Okay.
I just want to see. I need to see like what happens because I feel like they're gonna. I feel like Alabama's gonna be vulnerable.
Do you want to move on to the one last game I'm talking about? I don't think you'll expect me to talk about this game, but I actually have this as my upset of the week if we're just talking about college football. This game is sneaky. It's only a 4-point spread. Kind of surprising. Clemson going to Notre Dame in a game where Clemson is only favored to beat Notre Dame by 4 points, which if you look at Notre Dame, a 3-loss unranked team, Clemson number 4 in the country undefeated, you wouldn't think it'd be only a 4-point spread. But this game is in Notre Dame. Think Notre Dame's playing some better ball recently than they did early in the year. And I think Notre Dame is going to pull off a sneaky upset. And
way.
I think they're kind of going to spoil Clemson's season right here. That is super bold. I didn't really think about this until I saw the games this week. I'm like, I just have to take Notre Dame. They just beat Syracuse pretty easily. So I like Notre Dame to beat Clemson in my upset of the week college football. What do you have to say about that game?
That's one of the worst picks I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, well, we'll see next week what happens whenever we're on here. But anyway, college football is heating up. Been really enjoying it this year. So we just had to throw like 6 or so minutes in there. But back to the NFL stuff. Now we're doing top 10 team time for Graham. Let me pull your stuff up. Wait, I need to clarify one thing with you. So you have the Titans at 8 and you're dropping out the Giants? Or are you going to drop out the Dolphins or Seahawks?
No, I want to keep those two teams in the top 10.
Okay, so Titans are your number 8 team in the NFL right now. Looking pretty good at 5-2, but we're going to pull this up. I just need to share the screen. Share the window. Now we need to present this in present mode. Okay, and then this is your top 10 teams. So Bills, Eagles, Chiefs been the top 3 teams for I don't know how many weeks in a row now, but Vikings 4. I actually like that. I've had them at 4 for a few weeks now too, but I kind of just started your list for you, so now you take over.
Yep. Top 3 teams, same 3. Don't really need to go in much into them. They're all 3 really, really good at football. And then number 4 and 5, I was struggling to put which one I was above over, but I'm going to put the more offensively firepower team, and that's going to be the Justin Jefferson-led Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to put them above the Cowboys, who also have a really high-powered offense. But I will say the Cowboys' defense might actually be a little bit better of a defense than the Vikings' defense. I mean, I was surprised how good this Cowboys' defense is, but I'm not quite ready to put them in the top 4 yet. But they're still stuck in the top 5. At number 6, I got the Ravens. Ugly game on Thursday. They did not look good, but a win's a win in the NFL. When you win a game, you got to go. You got to go ahead and take it on the chest and move on with it. Number 7, I got the Christian McCaffrey-led 49ers. Not really much to say about this team. They're coming alive, and they're coming alive at the right time after just beating the Rams, doing all the things like that. I'm really excited. Christian McCaffrey, passing touchdown, rushing touchdown. Passing, receiving, rushing touchdown all in one game. Actually the first player to do it since LaDainian Tomlinson. I thought Taysom Hill would probably be the first player to do it since then, but Christian McCaffrey beat Taysom Hill to the punch. Number 8, I got the Tennessee Titans. Kind of quietly under the radar, having a good season. I kind of forgot about him. And Derrick Henry is starting to look like he's coming back. Number 9, got the Miami Dolphins. Tua, still a little shaky, but when you have 2 receivers that are the 2 fastest receivers of football, it's kind of hard to not be good. And then finally, my number 10 team. Yes, you are not seeing anything different. That is the Seattle Seahawks, like the team that we thought was going to be the worst team in football this year. They are a top 10 team in the NFL. Geno Smith is looking like a really, really good quarterback. Dark horse MVP favorite in my eyes. Kenneth Walker has turned it on this year. Looks really, really good. Did you see that video of DK Metcalf faking a route to the end zone?
Yeah, I saw the fake fade.
Yeah, crazy. Like that those are things that just don't happen, and they're happening to a team right now, and they're really hot. So I'm going to give them a spot in the top 10. But yeah, that's my week 9 power rankings.
So overall, I would have the Seahawks in the top 15 or so, not the top 10 quite. But outside of that, nothing much to disagree with on this list. I haven't done my power rankings yet, so I don't know if the Dolphins will be a top 10 team. But the other 8, I'm pretty certain I'll have them in the top 10. We'll see, though, when my power rankings come out tomorrow. But yeah, so we can move on to the next segment. So we're going to be going over my MVP ladder right now before we get into our game picks for the year. Oh, not the year, the week. Hey, we're not too far off of our midseason predictions.
We really are
coming in a few weeks. That should be pretty exciting. But let me put this in present mode, and now let's show my MVP ladder. So onto my MVP ladder. Been the same the last 3 weeks, really. Allen 1, Mahomes 2, Hurts 3. I think Hurts is the clear 3 for me. Smith is sneaking up into the 4 or 5 range, but I think Jalen Hurts, undefeated, done enough to be 3. Mahomes, Allen, neck to neck. So I thought about having Mahomes pass Allen, but Mahomes was on a bye week. Allen just didn't have his best performance versus the Packers. And Allen was on a bye week the week before, and Mahomes lit up the Niners, so that's what made me think it's close. But overall, Allen did beat Mahomes in that game. Well, the Chiefs lost to the Bills. The Bills beat the Chiefs. But Allen played better than Mahomes in that game, especially down the stretch. And that still does enough for me to have Allen at 1. But it's very close. The stats are pretty close. So what do you have to say about my MVP ladder for week 8 or after week 8?
If you had a 4th position, I feel like it'd be Geno Smith.
Well, that will lead us into.
Is that right?
Yeah, Geno Smith would probably be 4. I'd have to look at everything, but Smith 4, Parsons.
Can you imagine saying this 3 years ago that Geno Smith?
Can you imagine before the year saying that Geno Smith?
Yeah, like Geno Smith.
Even like I don't know, like last year when Geno Smith wasn't much of a player or wasn't much of the quarterback, he was the backup. Geno Smith has blown me away. But anyway,
yeah.
I just realized we have to talk about a segment real quick. That is the overreaction or not overreaction segment, and that'll lead us into Geno Smith talk. Geno Smith is the long-term answer for the Seattle Seahawks at quarterback. Overreaction, not an overreaction.
Not an overreaction. I mean, the guy's proved it on the field. He's really good right now. Right now, he's really good. I'm not saying he's a really good quarterback, but if he's going to be serviceable, he's going to take this team to the playoffs, why move off from him?
So when we were under the 5-game mark, I thought this was an overreaction that Geno Smith is the Seahawks long-term answer, but right now, not an overreaction at all. Geno Smith has been playing some very good ball through what are we through 8 weeks now? Yep. 8 weeks playing good ball in a tough division. That's a big enough sample size to prove that Geno Smith can play. But I'm about to pull up some of his stats. But I know his advanced numbers are very good, so I'm pulling them up right now. So if you're looking at what his PFF grade is for the whole entire season, he would be ranked at number 2, just behind Josh Allen, with an 88.4 PFF grade. He has 13 passing touchdowns. I believe he has 3 rushing, and then he has only 3 interceptions. So nice touchdown to interception ratio. 7.7 yards per attempt is pretty good.
Very.
And then you look at his passing yards. He is currently top 10, number 8 in passing yards. So Geno Smith has been having a very good season. And the most impressive part is his 72.7 completion percentage, leads the NFL. And just really like what I'm seeing out of Geno Smith right now. And to go back to the rushing, he does only have 1 rushing touchdown. So I was off by 2, but still good. Combine that, he has 14 total touchdowns, only 3 picks. So very good season so far for Geno Smith. I think he is actually I don't know how long-term, define long-term. If you say next 2 to 3 years, I would agree with the statement that Geno Smith is the answer at quarterback. But past that, I don't know. We have to let the season play out and see how he looks in the offseason next year. But right now, I think he's definitely, unless he collapses, he's earned the spot for next year as the starting quarterback. Just imagine if the Seahawks actually hold on and win this division. That would be the shocker of like my NFL lifetime.
Yeah.
But anyway, we can move on to the next statement. Cowboys are the biggest threat to the Eagles in the NFC. I'm going to start here. I'm going to say overreaction. Now, as much as we've been raving about the Cowboys, how good they've looked, head-to-head and just over head-to-head, I don't think they beat San Francisco. Last year they didn't beat them. San Francisco's only improved since then as a team, defensively, offensively, with McCaffrey now. And I just don't think Dallas has the weaponry to compete with San Francisco's weaponry on offense. So because of that, I think, and that game was in Dallas last year at AT&T Stadium. So I think if they met again, the Niners would beat the Cowboys. But that's the head-to-head matchup. Other threats are the Bucs still, but I'd say the Cowboys have the Bucs beat as of right now. But I just think the way you look at it is, unless the Eagles and San Francisco meet in the divisional round, the Cowboys are not getting out of the divisional round, in my opinion. Therefore, they wouldn't be the biggest threat because the Eagles would probably be playing another team in the championship game. But if you're just talking about on like total, as of right now, I think the Cowboys have been better than the Niners just because the record is. But going forward, I'm taking the Niners over the Cowboys. So no, I don't think the Cowboys are the biggest threat to the Eagles.
I agree. I think it's an overreaction, but I think it's for a different team. I think the Minnesota Vikings is that team that can give the Eagles a run for their money.
Ooh, I just don't see the Vikings making the championship game. Farthest I see them making is the divisional round.
I get it with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, but that offense is so powerful that he could literally sit there in a wheelchair and still be able to play decent football.
But the problem is, I don't think the run game is what it was a few years ago. And I think if you compare it to the Niners, the Eagles, maybe even the Cowboys, both have better defenses and probably run games than the Vikings. So that always could be a problem for the Vikings with their defense not looking so amazing. But I guess the Vikings can make the championship game. I just personally don't see them making it past the division round. But last overreaction or not overreaction statement is the Packers are missing the playoffs. Not an overreaction. So this is either are they making the playoffs or are they missing? It's not could they, it's are they. And yes, the Packers are missing the playoffs in my opinion. So the Packers,
it's not an overreaction too.
Packers 3-5, lost to some pretty average teams. But the Packers, I don't think they've played the best ball. I think they're only going to improve throughout the year, but with a 3-5 start, Minnesota looking like the juggernaut in that division, I don't think it's going to be enough to make the playoffs. I think we're looking at an 8-9, maybe 9-win football team that's just going to be on the outside looking in. Wouldn't shock me if they make it, but looking at the Vikings, really the whole NFC East, but specifically the Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, it's 4 teams. Rams, Niners, Bucks. Then you can even throw in the Falcons and the Seahawks for the way they've been playing. I feel like it's so competitive. And the who?
The Saints.
Bro, your season's over. Accept it.
Yeah, it is.
I just don't see the Packers miss the playoffs. Anything you would add?
I don't think they're making the playoffs.
Yeah, I just don't see them making. I think they miss. I don't think the Packers make the
they've lost too many games where they should have won, and it's going to hurt them at the end of the year.
So we can move on to the Week 9 picks. Did we put the stars in the right place?
I think so, yes.
Oh, you put them for me. Okay, good. Yeah. But Thursday Night Football, Eagles, Texans, big butt whooping in Houston. Texans have the undefeated Eagles who are looking to go to 8-0. Am I correct? 8-0. What?
9-0. They haven't had a bye week yet.
No, they did have bye week, so it'll be 8-0.
They did?
Let's look at Eagles.
I think they're 8-0 right now.
Eagles are 7-0, so they're playing the 1-5-1 Texans. So Eagles going to 8-0 with a win here Thursday night. I don't think this game is close. Give me the Eagles by 20-plus points to beat the Texans. Texans run defense.
Those battle red helmets are going to be sick.
Texans run defense looks very poor. But what'd you say?
Those battle red helmets that they're going to add this week, those will look good. But
are the Eagles wearing the throwback uniforms?
I don't think so.
Eagles uniforms versus Texans.
Those won't be coming out till next year.
Texans debuting the battle red helmets.
Yeah.
The Eagles aren't wearing the
throwback
uniforms till next year.
They won't wear their Kelly Green uniforms till next year.
Bro, I was looking forward to those uniforms.
Disappointing, I know.
But Texans at least win the helmet battle versus the Eagles then.
Yep.
Although the Eagles do have pretty good helmet themselves. But anyway, 20-point win for the Eagles versus the Texans, in my opinion. Chargers, Falcons, sneaky game, tough game to pick, with Chargers being a little disappointing, Falcons being a little surprising this year. But I believe this game is in LA. Let me double check.
Yes, it is, I think.
This game is in... Oh, we need to move to the next one. This game is actually in Atlanta, so that's not what I expected. Game is in Atlanta. Doesn't make me change my pick just because I think the Chargers are a better team with a better quarterback than the Falcons. But Falcons been sneaky. Mario's been sneaky. They could put up a fight. I just don't see them beating the Chargers. But anything you want to add to that game?
Nah.
We can move on. We can move on to the next game. We have a different prediction in this one. I have the Bears beating the Dolphins. Upset of the week. You have the favorite Dolphins beating the Bears. This is a 5-point spread, and it's in Chicago. Usually the home team gets about 2.5 points, so that means Dolphins are probably like 7.5 points better than the Bears. But listen, the Bears, we sneaky. Offense starting to pick it up. Dolphins come to Chicago. Could be a little bit of a letdown game because the Bears, okay, I'm just biased, but the Bears are winning this game. I think our run game is the best in football right now, and the numbers back that up. The numbers definitely back up. We're the best running game in football. Who is?
Only because Justin Fields getting a lot of scramble yards.
But Justin Fields counts as the run game, just like the 2019 Ravens. You can't say they're not the best running game because Lamar Jackson was 90% of it. But let me actually see the numbers on that real quick. So offensive run games, the Bears are averaging 188.4 yards per game. Second place is the Ravens at 165. We're the best running game by far. It isn't even close. So I think we can run the ball on the Dolphins. And I think Bradley Chubb being traded to the Dolphins made this tough. But then the Bears traded for Chase Claypool. Assuming they both play, that's a big pickup for the Bears who need receiver help. And I think it's easier to plug and play a new receiver than an edge rusher. But although it's not too tough to plug and play either, as long as they have a whole week to prepare like they do. But I think the Bears are going to have a sneaky upset here. Fields has been playing good ball. Give me the Bears to beat the Dolphins.
The Bears. But, yeah, no, I agree. I disagree. I think the Miami Dolphins are going to go in there, take care of business. Tua's going to go in there. He's just going to throw it to Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill's just going to run.
Tyreek Hill is on an historic receiving pace. He has 961 yards. I think he has almost 1,000. So
yeah, something's in the water in Miami because they're all so fast.
Well, Tyreek is fast in
I know,
Kansas City.
He got
Waddle's fast in Alabama.
I know, but they got faster. I don't know what it is, but I like the Dolphins right now. Their O-line's finally getting healthy, and they're protecting Tua a little bit better. The Bears kind of, lost Roquan Smith. That's going to be a little bit different for them. And then Bradley Chubb, I feel like he's going to have a pretty good game coming into Miami for his first career start.
Well, his first career start for the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Bengals, Panthers. I'm picking the Bengals just because they're the better team than the Panthers. Although the Panthers had a better week last week than the Bengals. Fairly bad game for the Bengals versus who the Bengals play was the Browns. Very bad game for the Bengals. But now they still don't have Jamar Chase, so that doesn't make me too confident in them after seeing them last week. But I still think that's not the offense they are. I think they pick it up. Can't play any worse than they did last week offensively, really. So I think the Bengals get a pretty much needed win to stay over 500 versus the Panthers. On to the next one, Lions, Packers. We both have the Detroit Lions beating the Packers. Don't ask me why I'm picking the Lions. We're probably just going to lose another close game. But for real, though, I think that this is more of a gut feeling pick. The Packers haven't been playing too good. Lions haven't been playing good either, but they've been playing good outside of really situationally. Although they did have some bad moments getting shut out by the Pats. But I think that this game is in Detroit, and I think ultimately the Lions are able to beat the Packers once this year with the way the Packers have been playing. So I think that the Lions can get a home win versus the Packers. Trading TJ Hawkinson doesn't boost my confidence in the Lions at all, but for some reason it seems like the offense can put up points. So going to have the Lions beating the Packers.
Yeah. I agree. That's actually my upset of the week. I think the Lions will take care of business.
So we can move on to the next one. What's the upset of the week records? 4-4, 2-6. Overall records, I'm still up on Graham by 4 games, but we can move on to the next one. We have 4 games different this week, so we'll see if that can change anything. Patriots, Colts. I think the Patriots win this game comfortably. Colts aren't looking too good. This game's a 5.5-point spread for the Patriots. It's in New England. And ultimately, Sam Ehlinger, young quarterback, versus Bill Belichick. Give me Bill Belichick to beat the Colts and Sam Ehlinger and get a big win for them to stay over 500. So I think the Colts, I don't think the season's over, but I just think the Colts are not a team to bet on right now to win many games, especially if this is a pretty good opponent. Anything you would add to this game?
I just don't see the Colts being competitive right now. It sucks because I know you were very high on them this year, but I think right now the Patriots are just a little bit better of a team. Whoa.
On to the next one. Game that could sneakily be an upset, but we're both chickening out and taking the Bills to beat the Jets. The Jets usually seem to play Josh Allen pretty good, and the Jets' defense is scaly good this year. It's just, did I say Josh Allen? Or Zach Wilson? No, I think I said Josh Allen. The Jets' defense. What?
You said Josh Allen.
Yeah, the Jets' defense plays Josh Allen pretty well. Scaly defense for the Jets this year. 5-3 football team versus a 6-1 football team. Yeah, Bills are 6-1.
Yeah, they're 6-1.
But I just don't really know if I have enough confidence in Zach Wilson right now to be able to win this game for the Jets. But who knows? If they can put up a defensive special team-like performance like they did versus the Packers, granted the Packers' offense and the Bills are 2 completely different teams, but going to just be a tough game for the Jets. But this game is in New York. I think the 13-point spread, I'm taking the Jets pretty comfortably in the Jets covering that 13-point spread. But I still think the Bills will win the game. But we can move on to the next game. Vikings, Washington Commanders.
Yeah, this game will be pretty interesting. The Vikings offense, really, really good. Washington, Taylor Heineke has kind of been on this weird magical run where he finds a way to win games. I actually had them winning last week against the Packers. They won against the Packers. I think that Taylor Heineke or Colts.
The Commanders play the Colts.
But I predicted both of those games and I got both of them right. So
you're I'm surprised you're picking the Commanders to win some games. But anyway,
I hate them, but I'm gonna go ahead and say the run ends.
I think the Vikings win this game pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
Addition of TJ Hawkinson only adds to the offensive firepower. But Commanders are sneaky, so we'll see. Next game's the battle of the teams that should have more wins than the record says. Jaguars play the Raiders. This game is actually in Jacksonville, but Raiders are 1-point favorites, so it's pretty much a toss-up game. I have no clue who's going to win. I'm taking the Raiders just because I think Derek Carr has to bounce back off of his last performance. But the Jags, Lawrence has been all right. Carr has just been all right too, so it could go either way. But give me the Raiders to beat the Jags.
Yep. I'm going to have the Jags beating the Raiders. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to wake up sooner or later. I think Christian Kirk's going to have a really, really good game against a very terrible defensive back team.
They have one good defensive back, Nate Hobbs, but outside of that, a little shaky. We can move on. A divisional matchup that I feel like we just predicted a few weeks ago, Cardinals versus Seahawks, because they just did play a few weeks ago. But I think this time around, the Seahawks, or the Cardinals beat the Seahawks after the Seahawks won the last matchup. But I feel like this game's in Arizona, the last one Seattle, big difference between the environments. Cardinals, I think, are fit to win this game. They had a big offensive performance a few weeks ago at home versus the Saints. So I think that they're going to have another good offensive performance. And just feels like this is a game where the Cardinals need to win, and I think they will win versus the Seahawks.
So the way I view this game is kind of like how it's always been in the past. Every time the Seahawks play Arizona inside of Arizona, it's always a weird game. Remember that game where it was a last-second field goal win for the Seahawks was like 4 or 5 years ago, but it was in overtime and they kicked field goal after field goal after field goal after field goal. And
that was random reference, but
oh my gosh. I feel like it's going to be one of those games again, and I think the Seahawks will come out on top.
Okay, I don't see it being as low scoring as you do, especially with poor defenses and fairly impressive offenses.
I don't think it'll be low scoring. I just think that it'll be like a weird, wonky game.
We can move on to the next one. Bucks, Rams. you would have thought this would have been a big hype-up matchup, but I'm not really too interested in this game as I thought I would be. I'm just honestly interested to see which team is worse.
Yeah.
I think the Bucks are a little bit better than the Rams right now. Cooper Kupp's banged up. I think he'll be able to play this game, though, but the Bucks looked a little bit better than the Rams the last time we saw them. Bucks played the Ravens. Rams played the Niners. But neither team is looking good right now. I believe the the Bucks are 3-5, and the Rams are 3-4. I think I only had the Bucks losing 5 or 4 games all year, so they're already passed or tied that mark already. Disappointing, but I think the Bucks will get it done at home versus the Rams. Want to add anything to that game?
I think the Bucks will get it done barely though. Currently the Bucks hold the Stale Chip Award. Their offense and defense. Their defense has been pretty good, but their offense is really, really bad.
All right, we can move on to the next game. Chiefs, Titans, Sunday night football. Give me the Chiefs to beat the Titans. Derrick Henry's on a roll right now, but the Chiefs' run defense is way better than I thought it would be. Still doesn't mean they're going to stop Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's going to get a lot of yards, but I ultimately think that the Chiefs are going to be able to win this game with their offensive firepower. Just an offensive juggernaut right now. I think Mahomes does enough to get this win.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Chiefs are just going to have a little bit too much on the Titans, and I think it'll be not that close of a game.
On to Sunday Night Football. You have your Saints beating the Ravens. Ravens, I think, win this game easily. I think the Saints defense, although it had a big performance last week, overall sample size, not been super impressive. The Ravens' run game, I think, is very dangerous. Lamar Jackson, we know the player he's capable of being, and he's shown he can be throughout his career. And the defense for the Ravens added Roquan Smith, and you already have pretty good defense starting to pick it up after some early struggles. I think the Ravens win this game versus the Saints by about 10 or so points. The spread is 3 points, so I don't see why that spread's so close. But tell me why the Saints are beating the Ravens.
I'm a homer. I just want the Saints to win, to be honest with you. This game is make it or break it for the Saints season. So I have hope we'll win, but probably won't win, but I'm a homer.
Okay, so I mean, fair enough that you're a homer. I kind of said I'm a homer too, but nothing you've seen for the Saints to win this game other than you're a homer?
I mean, if the defense plays how they played last week, I think containing the running game of Lamar Jackson, I think we'll be okay. Making Lamar Jackson throw the football, keeping him contained, I think maybe we'll have a chance. The offense has got to continue rolling, man. We got to go. We got to run our team through Alvin Kamara while Michael Thomas is out and Jarvis Landry is out.
Well, all right. You see, we had the bye teams up there until I took it off, but that is going to be our podcast. I don't know why I still had the overreaction or not overreaction stuff up, but there you go. Game picks. But anyway, that's going to be our podcast. Hope you enjoyed. Under an hour. Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't feel under an hour. But anyway, hope you enjoyed watching. We'll be back probably next week or so. Few weeks off from our midseason. Got the rest of the season to cover, and then what are we? Like 3 months from the off season. 3.5 months from the off season. That'll be fun. We're gonna have to do some draft stuff this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the draft too. I don't know why I'm talking about the draft. It's November. But anyway, see y'all guys and have a good one. Bye.